Welcome to Hispanic Biz Success Stories. I'm Homero Galicia. We're continuing a wonderful story with the business owner, Mr. Leroy Candelaria, to learn from him about his business ventures, his triumphs and his challenges. A wonderful story. We thank you for joining us. And thank you, Mr. Candelaria, for letting us ask you these questions. So you started in the nuclear pharmacy business in Las Vegas. Well, you started before that, but you opened up a store in Las Vegas. Then you come back to El Paso, and this is a period of several years. What did you learn in that process? You were constantly harassed by suits.
You know, what I learned was intestinal fortitude, and what I mean by that is that being in business is not easy, and you really have to have the stomach to be in business. One of the things I realized was that it's not for everybody. And that's okay. I mean, if you want to work for someone all your life, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to be in your own business, it does require a lot of intestinal fortitude. I mean, you got to stomach a whole lot. The other thing I really learned quite a bit was patience. As a younger man, I had much less of it. As an older person now, I have much more of it. But patience, you know, things aren't going to change overnight, but they will change. And if you're in the game long enough, I realize you'll win if you're doing all the right things. So if you stay in the game long enough, you're doing the right things. It may not happen as fast as you want, but eventually it will.
So here you are, you study nuclear pharmacy because that's the field you really enjoy. You get into business, you actually take on a new field, and you weren't really trained for that.
Yes.
Is that fair?
That is fair.
And so you're learning as you go.
I am. I'm still learning today, but with a lot more experience.
So how do you learn to run a business?
You know, there's lots of ways to learn to run a business, but what I always recommend to the younger generations nowadays, if you really want to do something, you got to try it out first, even if it's just a small sampling of what it is, because you may not like it. You know what I'm saying? And if you're going to do it and you're going to do it right, you're going to be there for a long haul, you might as well enjoy what you do, because if you have no passion for what you're doing, it ain't going to last very long. You know, a lot of young business people nowadays, they want to jump into something, and then they find out that it's not what they thought it was going to be, when they could have found that out earlier and then shifted gears into something that they truly enjoyed a lot more.
Did you run into situations where you were second guessing yourself?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the first venture in El Paso, I second guessed myself significantly. You know, I questioned whether I had any business skills at all. But what happened in my situation was that it was overcome by the need to put food on the table for my family. You know, I needed a job, quite frankly, and that's how I ended up getting in business. I never had aspirations of being a businessman or an entrepreneur. It kind of, I guess, the greatest motivator to be an entrepreneur is the need to put food on the table.
So it was an alternative for you. I mean, you could have gone and worked for a commercial pharmacy or something.
I could have, but I didn't enjoy it. I wasn't going to be happy doing it. I would have done it. So
what makes you happy in the business?
Well, you know what makes me happy in the business is, like we mentioned before, creativity, the ability to create new businesses. I'd mentioned earlier the software, but the desert imaging was an offspring of this also, which we created because that's what they were doing everywhere else, and we brought that to El Paso.
Okay, so as you're developing your pharmacy in El Paso, you began to see that you needed you were just sharing a little bit about you needed a software. So tell me about that.
The software really came about by the fact that one of the only software vendor in the country was out of New Jersey, and he had, once again, monopolistic privileges of overcharging and underperforming. And you know, I asked myself, well, how hard can this be? I mean, we'd already spent $500,000 on software at that time, and we didn't want to spend another $500,000 over the next 2 or 3 years. So we figured, how hard can it really be to write a software program? So we contacted a couple of programmers in Vegas that were very talented and agreed to work with us on this project. And in hindsight, we found out it's very, very hard to write a software program. But once again, tenacity and not giving up. You know, we thought we'd have it done in, we projected 5 to 6 months to be done. 2 or 3 years later, we haven't even got our first product out.
Really?
You know, so going back to the lesson of patience. and just continuing the persistence of wanting to create something.
Huge investment.
It was, a huge investment, but it really panned out for us.
So what does a nuclear pharmacy software look like?
As one would surmise, that when it comes to nuclear medicine or radioactive materials, there's a lot of regulation and paperwork and stuff like that. And prior to software, everyone's doing things by hand or manually. What the software system does, is it allows you to take advantage of technology. For example, electronic record keeping, so everything's paperless. Code scanning, so that there's less mistakes being made. We created actually a new way of doing the nuclear medicine or nuclear pharmacy business by what we call real time, which means that the instruments that we're using were tied into the software, communicating, and it's real time activity, and that wasn't done before. Now it's done also.
So you create the software,
Mm-hmm.
and what was the acceptance?
You know what? When we decided to write the software program, we never anticipated selling it to other people other than our own customers, El Paso and Vegas.
You were just trying to save money by
We're just trying to save money. Yeah, it was really, it was that simple. What happened was word of mouth. There's other people that had similar need. They'd ask us if we would consider selling it to them, and hence, the new business evolved.
And how did that grow?
It grew very slowly. It grew very, very slowly. We've had that business now for 20 years or so, and we were not profitable, until the last few years, I suppose, when we became profitable, last 4 or 5 years.
And what's the name of the software?
It's called, our software company is EC Square Software Solutions.
And what does that mean?
EC2 stands for Educate, Communicate, and Cooperate. A lot of people seem to think it's a scientific term, an Einstein type of formula, but no, we found out over the years that pretty much all mistakes that we've gone through is a breakdown in either education, communicating, or cooperating. And it's a mantra that we try to live by and teach everyone that works for us.
So that's kind of your business philosophy.
Yes, it is. In shortened words, yeah.
Wow.
EC Square.
So now you have the software, you still have the nuclear pharmacy, but you saw other opportunities.
Yes, there were. The other opportunities came in because once we started getting a little momentum, a little volume, a little buying power, then we'd get invitations from other cities. You know what? We know you did this in Vegas, and what happened in Vegas and El Paso monopolized market, the prices went down, service went up. It was good for everybody. And it was really good for our competitor too, because they were able to pick up the quality of their service too, which helped them out. But other cities that were monopolized were calling, and Albuquerque called. And we had opportunities in a lot of different cities in the country, but to be honest with you, I'm a Southwest person. My philosophy was if I had to get off more than 2 planes, it was too far. I just wanted to be able to one flight, because my time was important to me, because it was important to my family. But so we stuck in the Southwest. So we ended up going to Albuquerque, then we ended up going to Kingman, Arizona, then Lubbock, then Phoenix, and then there were some more opportunities to respond from that.
So you opened up
multiple
satellites there.
No, we opened up pharmacies in all those places.
Full-fledged.
We actually ended up gravitating towards the next level of nuclear pharmacy, which was the cyclotron world. And cyclotrons are a very complicated, more expensive form of nuclear pharmacy, because they're actually big machines that are licensed and regulated by the FDA. It's almost like a manufacturer. So we're gravitating from pharmacy to manufacturer at this point.
Wow.
And started creating our own raw materials. And we had 4 cyclotrons, one in Albuquerque, one in Lubbock, no, 2 in Albuquerque, 1 in Lubbock, 1 in Vegas, and 1 in Phoenix. And that was the next level to go to, and that was a challenge. That was hard.
Cyclotron's a big piece of equipment.
It's very expensive. It's a $5 million venture to open up a cyclotron, and
Wow.
It's not only a $5 million project, but it takes a year and a half to just get it up and going because of the complexities of licensing and the build out.
So and you have 4 of these machines now.
We had 4 of these, at that time.
Wow.
So other opportunities came up, but a lot of it came because of word of mouth, quite frankly.
How did you finance all of that?
You know what, the financing was interesting, in that, and it's an interesting story, because the first one we couldn't finance, obviously, so we're looking for finance partners, and that's how I met some of my current partners. But the guy who ended up funding it was the same guy who harassed me through lawsuits in the previous markets. You know, not to mention names or anything, because he sold the business to a bigger company. But he was my biggest foe, I guess, at that time. And interestingly enough, he became an ally. And his son actually graduated nuclear pharmacy school and worked for us in Vegas. So one of the lessons I learned there is never to burn bridges, never to talk ill of your competitors. And it's interesting what time does to not only business, but to people.
Wow.
Yeah, that was really an interesting story.
Fascinating. So, so now where is your business at?
Well, now we're in El Paso for a while, and then we're Albuquerque. You know, cyclotrons in Lubbock and Phoenix. Phoenix, the next thing that happened in Phoenix is we created what we call a collaboration center, because the cyclotron arena or world opened up a whole new different set of opportunities, because it was in its infancy, kind of like nuclear pharmacy. But now we had the benefit of experience from the infancy of nuclear pharmacy, how to handle the cyclotron side a little bit better. So we were in a position to actually work on clinical phase 1, 2, 3 trials for bigger manufacturers, you know, the GEs of the world type of thing, you know, to work on their products to get them to the next level. And we had a lot of human capital. We had some very talented chemists, you know, working for us, you know, specifically, you know, he's one of my current partners, Dennis Ishima. He was a big name PhD in the nuclear pharmacy world. We were able to hire him, and along with the big names comes a lot of attention, you know, which we did get, you know, and it actually helped put us in the map in the cyclotron world. You know, we actually ended up being, if not the largest, one of the largest radiopharmaceutical providers in the Southwest.
Really? Wow, you really built a big business then.
It was you know, it was decent size.
And so now all of a sudden your world is different.
Yes, yes, very different, and it's good and bad. You know, I mean, it's good and bad because it's like getting on a treadmill and you can't get off. You know, now you're all over the place. You're responsible for a lot of things, and there's a lot of lives at stake, and it's a whole different type of stress now.
How many employees at this time?
We had 150 employees at that time.
In all these?
In all the locations, yeah. And one of the parts of the job that I never really liked was the human resource side of it.
Yeah.
There was always a fire somewhere. And it took away from my ability to create, and I didn't enjoy that part.
So how did you resolve that for yourself?
To be honest with you, the way I resolved it for myself was when we sold all the pharmacies in Cyclotron, it gave me an opportunity to start from scratch and work with the people that I enjoyed working with, and the ones I didn't enjoy working with, you know, I didn't have to deal with anymore. So that's how I resolved it for myself.
So did you build a business to sell it, or an opportunity came to sell?
An opportunity came to sell, number one, and number two, you know, there's a beginning and end to everything, including businesses. And in my opinion, it was a good time to sell, not just because the opportunity came up, but because the industry is changing. Raw material costs were going high. The cost of your ability to sell was going down, and it was inevitable before I'd had to get terminated anyway. So it was a good opportunity.
So how many years has it been since you've sold?
19. Well, now we had the business for 19 years. We're going on the 5th year now. We sold in 2009.
So now you sell the businesses successfully. You got what you wanted for them, and you're back to zero, right?
Well, not necessarily, because although we sold the pharmacies and the cyclotron,